What's up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 13 in my 7th annual 31 Days of Horror. This is a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween and continuing along with the challenge. We're actually knocking off 2 criteria today, so we're back on that again. We have 1982's Tenebrae, Dario Argento classic, some might say. This is covering the Giallo, as well as the 4th country in the list of 5 that I need, which is Italy, so I need one more. But Tenebrae is a movie that I have recently watched. It was about a year ago, about 11 months ago actually, because we covered it on last year's November Italian Horror Month Dario Argento episode. And I hadn't watched it since, but you know, that makes sense because it's only been a year. So I decided to pop it in because it's a 1982 film. I needed to rewatch it for the podcast. And I rated it quite high last time I watched it. This time, probably still going to be quite high. This film basically follows an author named Peter who comes to Italy to promote his newest novel, Tenebrae. There, a razor-wielding serial killer is on the loose, taunting him and leaving clues. It's up to him and some detectives and stuff like that to figure out who the killer is. Meanwhile, you have a bunch of killings during that time. So Tenebrae is, you know, pretty standard Giallo fare. It basically follows a gloved killer who is slashing and killing people, and it's sort of a detective narrative. So that's, you know, hits the slasher with a detective narrative. That's kind of what I consider Giallos, and that's what this is. So one thing I will say about this movie is the first time I watched it, much like most Argento films, I get a little bit confused by who's who's the character, like who's this person. They have just a different way of telling stories than they do here in America. And sometimes I have a hard time following that. This time I was able to follow it a lot better. I actually went back and rewatched the scene to kind of clear up something that I was confused about. And it made a hell of a lot more sense this time watching it. And it honestly is pretty simple. So I don't know why I was so confused previously when watching it, or felt confused. I think I was just overthinking it. It's very simple when you watch the scenes play out. It's just there's random characters sometimes, and that's what kind of throws me off. It's just filmed different. But man, talk about filmmaking. This movie is so beautiful. Like, not only are the kills very beautiful and awesome, but like just the cinematography in general is great. Definitely one of Argento's best shot films. The music is good. It plays with the camera movements so well. There's one scene in particular that's like a crane shot along the outside of a beautiful house, which is one thing that Argento really did well, was the types of architecture that he would get in his films. And it could be like the Italian landscaping and the type of you know, architecture that they create when they make houses and different things that just looks so beautiful because it's foreign to me. But I mean, I always thought that Argento uses some great locations. Like the House of the Killer, man, it's immaculate. It's beautiful to look at. There's a scene where a woman is running through the woods and there's a dog chasing her, and then later a killer chasing her. The locations are just phenomenal. It's so good with stuff like that, and the kills are done well. It's honestly, like, I'm not a huge fan of Giallos, but this is like one of the best for sure, in my opinion. It has like everything I like about it, and honestly, like, I didn't think the ending was as stupid as some of the Giallos are that I've seen. The ending is actually pretty good. There's sort of like almost like a double twist on it, which is pretty cool. There's a kill where this woman gets her arm cut off, and I normally hate like spray blood, but whenever you chop a whole arm off, it wasn't like psh, psh, it was like a fountain of like a just a it wasn't as, like, you know, sprayy. It was just good, man. I talk about that a lot, how I hate like the psh, psh type of, like, looks like it's coming out of a spray bottle type psh, 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 like type of blood. This is more of like a geyser of blood that just looks like it's like, oh, there's that somebody cut something off and it has no place to go. But yeah, great movie. Acting is good. John Saxon's in this, which we just talked about him in yesterday's review. Just a really man, like, this is, watching it this time, it just, I love this movie. Like, this is one of my favorite Argentos for sure. Like, probably top three, maybe definitely top five. But Argento is a filmmaker that I wasn't really high on when I first started watching his stuff, but I've definitely, he's definitely elevated to, like, in my top three favorite filmmakers. Tenebrae is good stuff too. It's a little bit hard to talk about in a short review. We covered it at length in an episode of the podcast, so I'll kind of leave it off there. I'm gonna stick with the same rating that I gave it before. It's a 9 out of 10. Near perfect giallo. Really enjoyed it. One scene that I did kind of find a little weird was there was a person walking, attacked by a dog, and she stumbles into the killer's house. To me, that didn't make the most sense. It just seemed like weird. Like, it just, I don't know. It's like, what are the odds of that? Kind of convenient, but that's pretty much like one of the only things. Anyway, see you guys tomorrow with another review. Thank you for watching. Peace.